Bay. The Tampa Bay Bucs, Super Bowl 55.
Hello and welcome back to the Bucs Banter Podcast. I am your host, Colin Hallboom, joined by my co-hosts, Bodan Yard and Scott Capron, and we are here to discuss the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off back-to-back home losses. Embarrassing defeat, really, at the hands of the potent Kansas City Chiefs offense. At least they proved they are still potent against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about this game because there's lots to talk about. And then we're going to kind of shift into more of what I'm calling the quarterly review, where we're going to kind of break down this team from a bit of a bigger picture perspective. Because crazy as it is, we're already 4 games into the year, which is pretty much a quarter. So I hope my co-hosts are doing well. I'm working on not sharing the mundane pleasantries we often do off the top. So I'm going to try and just transition right into some football talk. But this is our 63rd episode. So this is a big one because it's our Leroy Selmonth episode, an all-time great Buccaneers defensive end. So shout out Leroy Selman and all of you watching or listening who know who that is. I know the Buccaneers faithful are really well aware, especially our baby boomers. Hell of a player he was.
Well, when we started doing this, one of the big goals was to get to the Leroy Selmonth episode, right? So to call it out early, to really see the field in that way and to get there. Big achievement, boys. Big achievement. But yeah, hey, how are you?
Good. I before I let Scott try and talk me out of believing in this Bucs team, I do want to just kind of plug some of my stuff. So I've got like 5 articles already coming out over these last couple days since the game at bucsgameday.com. Make sure you check those out. We got tons of content coming every day, and there's just so much news surrounding this team. It's a pretty fantastic organization to cover at this point in time. So yeah, make sure you're checking out bucsgameday.com. And while you're here, please like and subscribe our videos on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a lot. And otherwise, we are available for podcast streaming on any of your preferred services. So there you have it. Buccaneers 31, Chiefs 41 on Sunday Night Football. That score is really not indicative of how much of a drubbing it was. The Chiefs handled the Bucs the entire game. Bucs defense didn't stand a chance. They got off to a really bad start right away, which has become a theme for this team this year. Special teams was an issue, and that's where the issues began in this game. Rachaad White took it from inside his own end zone instead of taking the touchback, and he fumbled around their own 20. Giving the Chiefs a ball right away. I mean, that was disastrous. That was brutal.
I mean, what a harbinger of things to come, right? Just a terrible sign immediately. And obviously, if you're going to have a catastrophic mistake in general, you would want to, even if it leads to a touchdown from the other team, you'd want to have it as early as possible, right? It was 7-0 with less than a minute into the game, right? With Kansas City capitalizing right away. But I don't know about you guys. It was one of those ones where it was just like, oh no, this is just a bad sign, and just another time where, as Colin indicated, just another bad start against a team where you just can't have a bad start. You get the ball first, you need to score against Kansas City. You know what I mean? That's the whole point, is to get a lead against them. You can't receive the kickoff and be down a touchdown. It was just. And I know stuff happens. I don't know why on earth he's taking the ball out of the end zone. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. And wow, what a way to start the game.
Really set the tone. You're right, in the wrong way for the Bucs. And you could see Mahomes' body language, that whole Kansas City Chiefs offense. They were like, oh shit, all right, let's go. They're all hyped up before they even started, while the Bucs are feeling deflated. Just not a good. It's obvious why it wasn't good.
We kind of knew KC was going to come out like that, right? Coming off that loss to the Colts, basically, Kelsey drop away from it. They were ready to play, and it did.
Super Bowl revenge as well, right?
That too.
And that's all fair, Bo. But let's not, give them a head start as well by fumbling the opening return, right? Let's let them earn it. I'm not saying it would have gone any differently. I think Kansas City was going to play excellent. regardless, had that not started off the game for them. As Colin indicated, the 41-31 score was not indicative. This was way closer to a 3-score win. I don't think that the Bucs ever made it a 1-score game, if I remember correctly. Like this was out of reach. Immediately.
This was the one game this week that wasn't a 1-score game.
Yeah, seriously. The way it feels like the whole season's going, right? But it just, and the flowers to KC too. Of course, a good team capitalizes right there, right? They didn't go 3-and-out and kick a field goal and kind of get a free 3 points to start the game. No, they scored right away, kind of embarked their will, I suppose, or whatever on the game. And it was bad. I mean, I don't know where exactly you want to go, Colin, from here, because there's lots to talk about the team and that game specifically. But just regarding that start, don't give Mahomes a free 7 points. Don't do it.
Yeah, and special teams has been an issue for this team. So I do want to, just while we're on the topic of special teams starting the game off on the wrong foot, I mean, the Bucs rookie punter whom they drafted, Jake Camarda, I mean, he's been solid. He's been okay. He's been pretty good. He only had 3 punts in this game, but one of those he booted out of bounds early in the second half, giving the Chiefs the ball in the 35. I mean, you just can't do that to them. That's felt like at that point of the game, the equivalent of turning it over at your own 20-yard line, because they were just firing on all cylinders. So that was a really tough look. And I looked it up today, his punter EPA, so expected points added based purely off the punting game, he's dropped to 25th in the league. So just another aspect of the Buccaneers special teams, which have been an issue for this franchise forever. And the first few games they actually looked really solid. After looking really shitty in the preseason, it seemed like that their special teams were doing them favors in those first 3 games, but not in this fourth one. And that was just kind of all I wanted to say on that. What I want to talk about is the defense getting trampled in the run game. This is something we haven't seen since Todd Bowles took over the helm of the defense in Tampa, and the defense couldn't stay off the field. And a big part of that is because Pacheco, I forget his name. It doesn't matter his damn name. We saw him run and train on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean,
he did not look like he was going to be tackled within 10 yards, basically. He was, every touch, it felt like he could break something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for a defense that's looked so good this year, they've been the best defense in football, really. Yeah. It was tough to see because Mahomes was on one all game, but the Bucs didn't do anything to knock him off his game. And to me, it started and ended with the D-line. They were terrible. They couldn't generate any pressure outside of Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett was working. He was working hard. He didn't get to Mahomes, but he was a handful. But everyone else, specifically the interior, was not doing their job, and that even includes Vita Vea kind of getting handled. Now, our good friend of the show, Josh Capo, Capo was talking about that on Twitter. The one thing I do want to say though is the Chiefs have an elite interior offensive line, and that doesn't mean Creed Humphrey, who's an incredible young center in the league, probably not talked about enough. That doesn't mean he's handling Vea on his own. He's got Joe Tooney on one side, and Trey Smith on the other. So 2 really, really top end guards. So, Vea was getting doubled all day, but still Vea gets doubled all the time and he can normally still make an impact. He wasn't this game, and they missed Akeem Hicks beside him. No one else caused any issues up the middle. So I just kind of wanted to discuss that and, let you guys take it where you may from there. I just had to get that off my chest.
Well, sorry, Bo, I'm just going to take this for a second. First of all, it's funny. Defense is not reliable in the NFL week to week. You know what I mean? It really is matchup dependent, quarterback dependent. And just because you're a dominant defense, other teams can exploit it, which is funny because if you juxtapose it versus, watching college on Saturdays, obviously it's okay, Alabama and Georgia have bigger, faster guys on defense. It's going to be hard to score on them basically. Right. And I just thought this was an interesting example of, look at how great the Bucs have looked defensively. The offense has struggled and they've been injured, but who's going to score on them? What does it matter? And obviously, this is an extreme example as well because it's Kansas City, right? But still, didn't matter. Didn't matter. The play calling, the fact that it seemed like they were never in a bad second or third down situation, combined with the Bucs just not playing well defensively. I mean, the Chiefs could have picked their score, right? That's what it felt like. What was the one stop in the first half was really just Edwards-Helaire like dropping a wide open touchdown, right? Because it hit him in the head. Like
it's the fourth conversion that he just basically.
And that was on fourth down, so like it goes in the books as a stop, right? So there is a lot going on there. I don't think the defense is awful. We've definitely praised them on the pod before. Nice to get Marcus Mariota this week coming up, and you just chalk it up to Mahomes was on fire. Andy Reid, I think play calling wise, was on fire, and it was just one of those nights. But it was jarring to see relative to how well the Bucs have played those first 3 games on the defensive side.
It's always going to be jarring to see. Just to that group of running backs, like Isaiah Pacheco, like he seemed like he was awesome. My first time really paying any attention to him, honestly. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think we've kind of buried him on this podcast before. It's crazy to give up 155 yards to those 2 guys.
And Bo, it's not like they were playing Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, or you know what I mean? Like, the Chiefs feel like they don't generally have like a typical running back usually, because it's been Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or even if you go back to Andy Reid with the Eagles, it was like Brian Westbrook. You know what I mean? Like good players and everything, but not just like hand it off and like run between the tackles kind of guys. But that Pacheco, I don't know, variable of him just being kind of like a normal running back and just seeing them get carved up was, it was shocking.
I think it was a bit of a sly play by Andy Reid to come out hammering the ball up the middle. I don't think because they haven't been doing that against other teams, right? So and the Bucs know how good they are at stopping the run. It's almost like they were just working on dropping their defensive tackles into coverage all week at practice. Like they were just not expecting it or something. But you got to adjust, stopping the run. Like, sorry, Bo.
And I think you put it perfectly, Colin. Like since 2019, I just have not you just do not expect anyone to run the ball in this defense. Like it's just not a thing that happens, and especially not Kansas City. Like it's the thing that you go into the game least worried about and most confident that you can stop if it gets out of hand for a quarter. I can see it get out of hand for a quarter or so.
Yeah.
But for all game, it felt like it was 4 or 5 yard runs minimum.
Bucs got beat in the trenches on both sides. There's no doubt about that. While we're talking defense, I just want to say though, despite how that game went, like Mahomes, Andy Reid, you guys have both said it. They executed the game plan perfectly. Mahomes looked unfucking believable. Because he was just taking what they gave him. Like that's what everyone was talking about coming into this year. What he would need to do. Their Chiefs' offense looks different. Like I feel like that game was the epitome of it. Kelsey was unstoppable at the start. However, I still think the Bucs DBs held up okay, and like Jamel Dean was blanketing dudes all game still, and it didn't matter because Mahomes was just hitting who was open. But I if we're gonna pick a position groups or certain players who maybe didn't get absolutely smacked around, he's a guy who's impressing me more and more each week. He's the second highest rated corner in the NFL according to PFF, and I know I like to pick and choose where I believe in PFF grades based on how they rate a certain player, but in this case they seem bang on, boys. They seem bang on.
Well, like the thing, and I think that's the thing that I kind of need to come to terms with this defense is basically coming into this year, I was like, this can be a Super Bowl defense based on the front. And I think it can still be a Super Bowl defense. I'm dubious of the cornerbacks and the secondary in general being able to play at this level all year, and especially at the volume of snaps that the top 4 guys are playing. Like I think like your top 4 DBs are have played every snap this entire year. Is that wrong? Like I don't know.
Well, corner wise,
just for sure.
Just for the corners, but it depends on the package, right? So like nickel packages, like Logan Ryan's gotten in there, and then this game they were using Keanu Neal because Logan Ryan got banged up. Logan Ryan had been great when he was in there. Mike Edwards, speaking of PFF, he was rated number 1 out of all free safeties, which is kind of crazy.
But like I don't know. I just feel like you're gonna on every down, you're seeing some combination of Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr., Mike Edwards, and Carlton Davis. Like those 4 guys are out there constantly.
You're
and I'm just like, you're going to need some depth at some point to lean back on. And I know at some point they're going to have to test SMB. Like, you're going to have to rely on that guy. I just think over 17 weeks and then a playoff run, it's going to be so tough for those guys to play at this level for that long, which is why it's so important for this front to figure it out.
It is inevitable that you'll need to depend on your depth at the corner position. It's just too physically daunting of a position trying to keep up with the wide receivers this day and age, like, or any wide receivers.
Yeah.
But how about SMB though? One snap, one pick, baby. Like, that was nice. But yeah, like, is what it is on that.
Pretty impressive too, considering he hosted a Guinness tour in Dublin on the Saturday. So to make it back in time to actually do that is pretty cool.
He took the Vikings and it was the same day actually. He took the London teams out. Yeah.
I didn't love him celebrating the pick so hard to the crowd. I mean, I guess if that's his first action and he gets a pick, he has the right to do that. But I was just looking at the score and I'm like, just run back, just give the ball up.
We see every week that score does not dictate size of celebration, right? So that's about par for the course. But yeah, I agree.
Now on the other side of the ball, so now I'm gonna start. There are some positives to be had on this side. First of all, it was really great to see Tom Brady airing the ball out to competent receivers for the first time this season, which is obviously a defining feature of this group, this offense last year, right? And Scott, like what you were saying earlier, I mean, your defense could be however good you want it to be. No defense is bulletproof. And if you're a team with more bullets, you're going to win. And that's what a good offense will beat a good defense. Like, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And that's why I think it's important. We'll talk, when we get to more of the like big picture stuff about the play calling, and we've talked about it plenty. But for now, just kind of breaking down some of the individual players. I think Brady was dialed in. He looked great throwing the ball. But it didn't look great watching him get laid out by Jerry Sneed, by the way. Where apparently it's come out that by Ian Rappaport that Brady suffered some form of a rotator cuff injury, sat out practice today, but apparently not expected to be an issue for him moving forward. And something to keep an eye on, though, I think, if he gets hit like that again, right? The O-line, I already mentioned the trenches, got to keep that guy upright. But Brady looked good. Brady looked good throwing the ball.
So, I think we've talked about the pass protection and, like, it's been good. It's been good, but, like, I looked it up. Brady's getting the ball out as fast as he's ever gotten out in his entire career. It's like 2.2 seconds or something like that. So, like, I don't know if the pass protection is that good. I know for a fact that you guys can't run block. Like, there's a problem there. Like I don't understand how. And I know the Chiefs have a good interior D line. It's just like I gotta see some more proof that you guys can run block. That's the thing that's concerning me. It's like, if you can't run the ball, I know Brady's going to get it out in 2 seconds, but it's just not sustainable. Like, every drive can't be a 2-minute drill.
A lot of our O linemen are actually grading out better in run blocking than they are pass protection, which is interesting that I pulled up today. I think Lenny, I think Josh was onto something when he was on with us last week, kind of criticizing Lenny. I don't know if he was saying it on the air, if him and I were talking offline, but he was airing out some concerns about Leonard Fournette and his lack of juice hitting the hole and just, being too slow, too reluctant. I think that plays into it a little bit too. I don't think this group is a lost cause necessarily. I mean, they first game of the year, Lenny went off, right? They were running the ball. So, but it's really hard to describe what this group is in general, because they've looked so different throughout some of these games. So,
and they have the greatest crutch in the world in Tom Brady getting the ball out that fast too.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's always done that to protect his O-linemen, right? He's always gotten the most out of them, doing them plenty of favors. Yeah. But the other thing too, because they have struggled in pass pro, no doubt, as well. But having 27 snaps, that's how many snaps Godwin, Julio, and Mike Evans have played together this year. 27 plays. So again, you'll probably hear me mention that again, because I'm a little more optimistic than maybe you guys are at this point in terms of forecasting how this next stretch of games is going to go. But if you don't have anything to add on Tom Brady, I mean, he finished, I think, 39 for 52 for 380 something yards, 3 touchdowns. So, for a team that's putting the ball in the air, that's the kind of numbers you want from an efficient quarterback. Tom Brady was that. Mike Evans. Sorry.
They were playing catch up the whole game. You know what I mean? Like
For sure.
I'm just happy with how he looked. I thought he looked the part. You know what I mean? So that's huge, and that's probably more important, honestly, than anything else. But the only reason they started to throw the ball was because of how inefficient they were early, and how they finally realized that they could not stick to running the ball up the middle on first down and try to keep the Chiefs within arm's length, right? So it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, I think, from this whole game, because I'm glad we saw Brady look really good, and obviously I thought Evans looked great. Not that he was coming off a suspension. Actually, wasn't one of the ones who was actually injured, but I don't know. The whole game was such an asterisk just because I thought it was like out of control so early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a hard one to take a lot from, other than
Well,
actually how Brady looked, which was great.
and that's what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah,
Just individually, how did guys look? Because you're right.
For
That's
sure,
all you
sorry.
can. Yeah, no problem. I just figured I'd clarify that. Like, so I was about to, Evans was a beast. Like,
Yeah.
he was really a beast, not just in the red zone. He was creating separation all over the field, every level.
Yeah.
8 catches, 100+ yards, 2 TDs. You could tell, like you said, Scott, he was itching to get back on the field. And I thought he looked great. And I thought Godwin looked great, and without feeling great. And like, there's no way he was feeling great. I mean,
No.
You can tell he's laboring, but like, yeah, he like when the whistle blows, he's ready to go.
Torn ACL, torn MCL, plays like a quarter, and then pulls his hammy. Right, misses 2 games, comes back. He's just, when he's out there, man, like, it's kind of like myself and pickup basketball, though. Like, he only knows one speed. So like, I'm often on the shelf because I'll come back like 80% and just like injure myself because of the way I play. Like, I'm not smart enough or something. But Godwin's the same way. He's just a lot healthier than me anyway, so I feel much more optimistic about his long-term health. But I'll tell you one thing, he's gonna get healthier and he's gonna get more and more comfortable each week. And it's a real treat to see him back on the field and to get through a whole game without having to exit the game, because it's been a minute. So that'll be fun. And then the last guy I wanted to hit on, I mean, same goes for Julio, by the way, in terms of finishing the game, Bucs coming away without losing one of them. That felt like a win in this game. And I hate to say, like, you know, I know Cam Brate suffered a concussion, but Cade Otton then was forced into occupying all of those snaps as the primary inline tight end. He's a rookie. I get it, a 4th-round pick at that, but he can do everything Cam Brate can. I kind of went off last week, but like, let's bump old Ivy League Cam down on the depth chart, shall we?
Yeah.
I think it's time.
It's crazy. I'm looking at the box score. Cam Brate, 8 targets, 4 catches, 32 yards. Cade Otton, 4 targets, 3 catches, 29 yards. Like, you give him a little bit more volume, you're gonna see a lot more return.
And he's a
even Keith, my guy, the Viking, Neanderthal.
Dutch
Viking with the red hair, just flaming. 19 yards on that one catch, but just I like it. It's a wrinkle to his offense. I think you can play these tight end sets really effectively, and you don't need to worry about Brate. So it sucks to see a guy lose his spot because of injury, but I think he lost his spot because of his production like weeks ago too. So
okay, can we talk about Leftwich now? Because holy shit.
Yeah, we can now, Scott. Yes, you can start talking about.
So all right, just as a fan, Colin, what are your takeaways? Where are you with him?
I'm very frustrated because, like, I look at it, you know, since he's been calling the plays, and last year it was the same story, man. He wasn't running enough play action. He was scared to pass on first down. Wasn't setting guys in motion, getting creative enough. And it hurt both of the last 2 seasons. This was the case. And then he eventually started to do what he needed to do to be successful. Like, the numbers pointed out too, like using more play action, like I said, and passing on first down is a big one that we always hit on, that we always talk about, because it's so obvious and such a simple thing. We've talked about why, to avoid putting your team in second and third and long situations. I mean, that's why, because then you open up the playbook to really have the defense off guard, trying to predict whether you're going to run or pass. First down, especially if you continue to do it, they fucking know, and you continue to do it. It's almost stubborn and insulting to anyone with 2 eyes who's ever followed the rules of the game.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. And I'm so happy that you said it, because stubborn and insulting, those are perfect adjectives for this. Like, it's unbelievable. How do you think, why? Like, but why is my thing? What?
Yeah.
What is the actual thought process behind it? Like, I just don't understand it. As like from a game to game thing, I don't get it. You have Tom Brady from a macro philosophical side of the macro philosophical side of things. It doesn't make any sense to me. Byron, I think I mentioned this last week too. Not mentioned it or just brought it up. Like, Byron Leftwich is a quarterback. I always find it shocking when quarterbacks who end up calling plays are super conservative on first down. I don't know, man. You don't have Jameis back there. You don't have some of the other Bucs quarterbacks that they've trotted out before. You got Tom fucking Brady. Like, it just makes things easier to be more aggressive on first down. And it's not like it's not Kenny Pickett that you're throwing in there in a Steelers game to trust to make the right decision. It's Tom Brady. I feel like he's really doing the team a disservice right now. And this is not a great look for his head coaching prospects, because anyone's just going to be able to point to the personnel that they have and say, wow, what the hell happened to the offense, right? And I know there's injuries, of course, but I don't know. It's tough to watch. I mean, watching every game and actually trying to pay attention and take notes and just seeing them ram their head against a wall on first down every week. I don't know, man. It's tough.
It's
before Bo goes, I just want to say, to clarify, we have entered the quarterly review part of the episode because obviously the Bucs didn't run that much that game, but like Scott was harping on, well, we can't judge the game plan in a game where they were playing catch up and just trying to stay alive. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the whole season so far.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bo.
I think especially, I've been thinking about this for a little while. It's just like, how many plays are in a playbook, right? And it's just like, how many plays do you actually get to run out of that playbook? And how many plays do you say in September and October, I'm just not showing any of these? And I'm just wondering if he comes into these games with a scheme, just knowing that, like, I can't put so much of the things that I want to put on that we're going to do later on the season. I don't want to put that on tape yet. And I just wonder, because like it was the same thing with the Chiefs last week, the week before this, where it's just like, why are you struggling so much with the Colts, with the way that you're calling this game, or even the Rams, even on Monday night? I was just like, why are you struggling this much? And I think part of the Rams is just like they don't have the personnel that they want for a lot of these packages, but it's frustrating with the Bucs. Like, it's just, especially on a week like this, where you have all these guys coming back and everyone's kind of raring to go. Why not be a little bit more aggressive, especially when you're down 7? It's just like let's come out, run a play action. Everybody knows that we want to run it on first down now. Why don't we start playing into that a little bit more? But I think, especially with Leftwich, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for like a few more weeks to be like, okay, maybe you're trying to save something here until you have your full complement of your weapons and you want to put out the packages that you want. You want to show these plays a certain way later on in the season. And I don't know. I just wonder how much of the playbook he's leaving unread, basically.
Yeah, you mean the passing half?
Yeah, all the passing packages are really muted. That's for sure.
There's probably something to that, Bo, and I see what you mean. Like, it's a loss in September against a good team. It's certainly not the world coming to an end. But if you're trying to win a game against a good team as well, and you see Mahomes absolutely vibing over there, then Leftwich, Bowles, figure it out, open it up early. Honestly, because it's naive to think that your defense is going to be lights out like it has been the previous few weeks and just hold Kansas City to 17 points. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't figure that out during the game, that you're going to have to score 35 to have a chance, then, it's almost like the Super Bowl win did them a disservice in this game, which, hey, obviously you'd take that trade-off 11 times out of 10. You know what I mean? But just because you stop Mahomes and the Chiefs doesn't mean you're going to do it again. And I don't know. I just feel like they were trying to win another game 2017, and there was no way that was going to happen. And hopefully, Leftwich is it's a true chestnut checkers situation, and he's keeping things off the tape, and they'll just continue to get more healthy, and we'll see a more aggressive approach on first down and just in general. But fuck, man, you're playing the Chiefs. Like, show me something. Like Rashad White, 3 carries for 6 yards. Lenny, 3 carries for -3 yards. I think I'm gonna puke. Like, that's 6 carries for 3 yards.
Yeah, so, how many of those were first down carries?
Well, yeah, I know.
How many of those started off a series, right?
Exactly. And then it puts even more pressure on a very immobile Tom Brady, right? And so and then I don't know. It's just, listen, that's obviously particularly bad. Those stats that I just listed off, I mean, I feel like we could have averaged that. Actually, I mean, maybe +3 decapitations if we were playing, but you know what I mean, right? Like, that's disgusting. And fuck, it's just hard to watch. I just think their players are so good. I just want to see them at their best. You know what I mean? I think that's what it's like. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. With Leftwich, like, whether it's an intentional stubbornness, like we alluded to with running the ball so frequently early downs, like, I think he just needs to stop being reactive as a play caller and letting other teams' performance dictate how he calls the game, because that's what I've seen so far this year. He needs to come out of the gate swinging, and I'm like, where the fuck is Bruce Arians right now? Like, where's this no risk it, no biscuit? Because Bruce wouldn't have that. I think in previous years, Bruce kind of would let Leftwich do his thing and then got in there and was like, Byron, throw the fucking ball. Like,
yeah.
I'm wanting him to get involved, but also, like, I know that's not always how it works. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, I'm with you guys on that. I do think, though, there's time for him to show, which it's happened both of the last 2 years, where I've been very frustrated with the play calling early in the season, and then he kind of turns a corner. Bo, it's an interesting theory about him, like, saving something and that being almost like an intentional thing. But if you're not winning every game, you don't have the right to do that. Like, it's that simple, right?
Like, since we're talking about the super macro part of this, it's like, is there anyone in this division that you're worried about?
No.
Like, honestly, like, the Saints do not look like the Saints anymore. Like,
yeah, and I mean,
go back to, like, bite us in the ass in a few weeks from now, but, like, they don't look good. They look bad.
Yeah, and another, just to that point, another interesting piece of information that Greg Auman of The Athletic dug up today that I found interesting is, like, the Buccaneers, the opponents they've played so far are 3 of the 4 opponents have winning records. The one team that doesn't is the Saints, who are still generally viewed as a potential playoff team. They have the talent. They've just, kind of got hit with a litany of injuries, and they have Jameis as their quarterback. But anyway, they didn't have those injuries when they played the Bucs. So really, you could almost argue they've played 4 teams that could have a winning record. And I know we're at the start of the year, so records are whatever. But the remaining 13 opponents, none of them have a winning record at this juncture.
Yeah.
So the point is,
you guys have a really easy schedule coming up.
Hey,
it's more how hard.
We talked about those first 4 games being a gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
And I think I literally mentioned last week, when's the 1:00 game against Atlanta coming? And I honestly hadn't looked at the schedule, and it's this week. So, like, that feels like it couldn't come at an easier time or at a better time. Not to knock Atlanta, who has at the very least been frisky and, like, fun to watch. Right.
Yeah.
So,
they're a cool 2-2. They're a much better 2-2 than
and, like, people
whoever
Bears.
And the Bears are 2-2 too. This is a completely different team.
Yeah, but people, I mean, I saw some people were at the start of the year who thought Atlanta was a potential bet for the worst record. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, like, that's kind of what they were being considered. Not to saying, I just mean they're friskier than we thought, but I still think this is a great time to get this game, right?
I haven't been watching the Falcons games, but a lot of people are complimenting Arthur Smith and how that offense is, like, doing things, which is funny because Kyle Pitts is just continuing to not produce statistics, which is just the most mind-boggling thing when you think of that roster. Drake London looks fantastic.
Dude, I saw a tweet today. It was basically saying, like, Kyle Pitts apparently sat out of practice today, and the tweet was just like, Arthur Smith is basically taking in-game simulations way too seriously now. Like, they do not use him nearly enough. One good thing that I'll say, and like will be kind of like the most interesting part of this game on Sunday, which we expect the Bucs to win. I think all three of us expect the Bucs to win handily. The Falcons, their like running game is unbelievably good. Even though Cordell Patterson went down, the way that they're scheming it seems like that's what's working for them. Their offensive line is playing much better than they expected. I saw a stat that they are actually averaging 2.84 yards before a point of contact is made, which is basically a second level. So it's very interesting. So if the Bucs come out there with the same run defense as they had against the Chiefs, this might be a very tight game, if not like a very close loss, honestly.
Yeah, like I mean, I think they're going to come out. I think the Bucs are going to play well. I think it's time for a 35-20 win. That's what I'm hoping for here. I do wish that it was the Panthers and not the Falcons this week, just from Carolina is bad. The coach and the quarterback appear not to know how to do anything. And I think Atlanta at least is like vibing, right? But yeah, man, it's gonna be an interesting one. I think Tampa's an 8-point favorite as of now. Come out, Bodan, come out and take a lead. Come honestly. Out. You don't have to make it so stressful in the second half. You're allowed to go out and just try to win the game, right? I'd like to see that from a superior team, which is what the Bucs are.
Yeah, I just looked it up and I was just like quickly just opening and closing the drives as I went along. It looks like every drive in the first quarter started with a run. And it's just like you're down 14-3. Like you need to just start passing now. Like as soon as you're down 7-0, you need to start passing. So if they basically attack the game as like, okay, fourth quarter is basically our first quarter, and they play the call plays like that way, then I don't know. We'll see.
I totally agree. And like I've harped on this. I don't know if maybe I've said it here, but I've definitely said it to some buddies. It's like NFL games are short. You only get so many possessions, right? Like you really
it's way less than it feels like. Sometimes.
Way less than it feels like. Like wow, how many times are you watching on Sunday and like boom, the first quarter's done? Call right? Like it's crazy. It's pretty quick. So
it's like we had one fucking drive and the quarter's over. Like what?
Exactly. So 14-3 is not insignificant. Right? Like it's 2 scores and it's like, I don't know. It's just, you get your backs against the wall in this league, in this, with the way, like we just said, with how many possessions you get, you got to score, man. You don't want to fall behind, and you don't want to fall behind against a good offense. So anyway, I just relating that to this Falcons game coming up. I just want to see them go up immediately. If they can get the ball, go down, march down their throat and score. Like, don't be in a game with 12 minutes left in the fourth. Just try not to if you can. I know I know it's easier said than done, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think a lot, like, I'm not making excuses because I'm as frustrated as anyone with Leftwich's predictable inconsistencies and whatnot. But one player we didn't mention who was back that I think is important, that's going to help, hopefully, him feel more confident opening it up a little bit is Donovan Smith, one of the most underrated left tackles in the game.
For sure.
Who hyperextended his elbow like right at the beginning of the season, right? So it was one thing to have those two young linemen, Hainsey at center, who's played pretty well in my opinion, and Luke Gadecki, who's a left guard who's really struggled a lot. But I did notice that Donovan Smith was back last game still, just that section of the offensive line. So I think that could potentially give Leftwich a bit more confidence, right? Because when you're down to like two reliable O-linemen, it's really hard to open up the playbook. At least I think that's how some coaches view it. And maybe that's potentially, a part of his thought process. I'm going to ask a question, and it is, do you guys believe, so the Buccaneers, like we already talked about it, their defense, arguably the best defense in football through 3 weeks. Last week, they get their asses handed to them. Okay. Like where are they really from what you've seen so far? Like, are they a legit defense? Like, I know my answer, but I'm curious what you guys think moving forward as we reflect on the first quarter of the season.
I mean, honestly, Dak got hurt in that first game, right? Am I remembering that correct? So Dak gets hurt in the first game. the Saints offense is a train wreck. And I wouldn't say that Green Bay's offense is a train wreck, but it's going to be very mediocre, I think, throughout the whole year. So I do think it was a little bit smoke and mirrors relative to the competition, like that top ranked defense or whatever Tampa was. I think they're a very good defense. I don't think they're going to be considered elite by the end of the year. I would fall like they're in like one of the 7th to 12th best.
Yeah, they won't lose. They won't lose you a game, but they can't win you one either. I think I'm in the same place as you, Scott. I think I want to see it from the front. I just basically want the pressure, that run, that like envelope of a run defense that you guys had for the last 2 years. I'm not positive that it's there yet, is basically where I'm at with it. It's just like, I think that this defense is going to be getting better as the season goes along, and I'm not sure. I think we might have seen the best games this defense has played already, is basically where I'm at with it.
Well, let's hope that's not the case.
Well, I'm not saying there's like like you're going to fall off a cliff. I just think that like what you're going to ask this defense to do week after week, it's just not sustainable. And I don't think that it's there. Like, I don't think they can stop Patrick Mahomes offense. I don't think they can stop a Josh Allen offense.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson's going to give them troubles. I think Jalen Hurts and the
no
Eagles
one can stop. No one can stop.
Yeah,
those
no
guys,
one can
though.
stop those guys.
Totally. But you can give them. You can, like the Buffalo Bills did. Like that second half against the Ravens was like one of the most impressive defensive football. And I know it was raining and it was like a horrible conditions. They were very impressive against like a very run-centric, Lamar Jackson heavy offense. And
the Ravens are coughing up leads left, right, and center, right? Like they're 500 right now for that reason. Like they blew a huge lead to Miami as well. So that also sounds like a bit of an issue on their part.
But Bo,
not to take anything away from the Bills.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Bo. I'm just saying I hope that's not the case. That's all. I mean, I think what you're saying has a decent, probability.
But like where does this defense get better? In the middle? Or we think Vita Vea like
I think we can't look too much specifically at this one game. Like I do think it's more of an outlier than the previous 3 games. Like I would certainly side more with that as a proper evaluation of the defense in this past game. And that's not to say that I think your guys' assessment of where they're at league wide by the end of the year is misguided by any means. I would side with more. We're talking about a top 6, top 7 defense, so the higher end of what you suggested, but I think that's totally reasonable. I still think they got all the hogs, like they got all the guys they need, and I'm confident with Todd Bowles calling a defense. I actually love Todd Bowles calling a defense. And what we've learned in years previous, they got a Super Bowl done with a lot worse defense. This is the best defense that Tom Brady's had in Tampa. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I think they'll show it as the season goes along. That's not to say they're going to be a juggernaut on that side of the ball, because I hope the offense is letting it fly. Like I'm more concerned with seeing that side of the ball really find their rhythm. And
like that's the opposite for me. I think this offense is going to be so much better than what we've seen.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Like it's like I feel like where they are right now isn't even close to an indication of how good they could be later on in like January or December, right?
Yeah.
You know what this offense could use though, boys?
Antonio Brown? No.
Gronk.
Little Gronk?
Use a little Gronk. Do you guys think it's going to happen still? You think it's going to happen at a point or what? Bo, you're yeah, Scotty, you do?
I've totally lost faith.
I do.
I feel like we would have seen him a little bit by now.
Dude, we haven't even done. Brady's getting divorced. I feel like anything's on the table. Like you fucking kidding? I think Gronk could definitely come back and
could use a friend.
Maybe Brady. Maybe Brady is literally going through the divorce, so we can use that as a recruitment card on Gronk to really pull out the friend card and be like, Gronk, I'm divorcing Giselle. I need you right now, man.
Yeah, I need
Gronk,
you.
I haven't given you. Oh, Tommy, I'm sorry, man. You're right. I'll come catch some tutties, buddy. All right.
Yeah.
Just wait till week 9.
Yeah. Brady's like, I need you Sundays from 1 to 4 specifically. But
Jason Light's just like, Tom, you're gonna have to use your family as leverage. We've run out of options.
Yeah, Light knew. Oh my God. Sorry, just regarding the defense, I think they're good enough. So wherever that falls, you know what I mean? Whatever ranking, blah, blah, blah. I think they have enough to make a run. And, especially comparing it against the other NFC contenders, right? Like, are they demonstrably worse? I do think the Niners have a better defense, but we'll see if they can score enough points to actually make a run. Feels like they always do, but yeah, I do think the Niners have a definitively better defense. But like the Eagles, no. Anybody else in the NFC East, no. I don't think anyone else matters in the NFC South. And then I think the Packers defense, to be honest, has been a little bit underwhelming. I think they've been okay, but I thought they were going to be pretty dominant this year. We'll see. Maybe they get there. But
they were dominant against the Bucs. It's just Bailey Zapp gave them a lot of trouble last week. Yeah,
exactly.
Bucs are missing their 3 best offensive weapons too, though, right? Like those things matter, right? So if we got to play both sides of that coin. There's always this league. There's so many guys going to be out at various times. Like it's all about that sample size, and as each week goes on, we're going to get a clearer picture. So, but that's part of the fun of right now, trying to predict what we think is for real and what we think is a mirage, right? Or if it's somewhere in the middle. And I certainly think this Buccaneers defense is better than good enough to get it done, because I think when they were good enough to get it done barely was when they won that Super Bowl in 2020. And I like I just said 3 minutes ago, I think this defense is substantially better than that group. So we'll see how that goes. I hope. It's kind of sad, this Tom Brady divorce stuff, because it seemed like
super sad.
Yeah, like it seemed like him and Giselle were in a really good place. He just seemed to have this new lease on life since he came to Tampa, and they were in the middle of building a house, and just like, I don't know, like I told you guys, like that concept came across our Bucs game day chat for SI, like who's going to take this article, and I was available and ready, and I knew that would get clicks, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I didn't want to write about that.
Well,
we had to. I get that. I get we had to write about it, but I just didn't want to because it made me sad.
Okay, so it's a pretty wild situation, right? Like Brady's 45? I mean, Giselle was probably thinking after the Titans playoff game, right? Remember when he couldn't throw and they scored 10 points or whatever it was? She was probably thinking then, all right, what a run. Undoubtedly the best quarterback of all time, best career, Oh shit, 4 more years or 3 more years. It's like, that's a lot, man. Like that's a lot from just a strict, like we're all married. That's a big ask. I can only, you know what I mean? And they have all the money in the world. They have all the fame in the world, but she's probably like, hey, can you help me with the children at some point? Which, I mean, I don't know. I'm not calling Brady like an absentee father, but it's like, he's clearly prioritized another season with the Bucs and just playing over a lot of this stuff. I can't imagine that this is the first time that it's come up, right? And he did try. Go ahead.
Imagine how addicted you'd be if you were that good at something.
Which I do,
like the best of all time.
I know, and you're still so good at it. Like I get that point of it, obviously, but was she like, okay, supported you, like pretty good. I think we're good now. Nobody else plays until this age, right? Like, I don't know. I can see both sides of it.
And you're talking about that Tennessee game as kind of being a tease to her, like her thinking it's done or whatever. Like, maybe she thought he was done when he fucking retired 6 months ago too. Right? That couldn't have helped his cause. In hindsight, I mean, I have my own theories as to why he did it. I think he felt pressured from the media and he just hadn't made a decision yet. And he was like, fine, I'll say I'm retired, so you leave me alone. But that's a different argument. Regardless, that's what happened. So it's a sticky situation, but it is sad because I don't know. And as much as he's, being an NFL football player, that's going to take up enough of your time. Naturally, I think he's a really involved father when he can be. From our vantage point, we don't fucking know. But the only other thing, the slight glimmer of hope out of all of this is if they do go through with the divorce, then part of me is like, well, shit, like then maybe we got another year or two. Like maybe he's then going to be like, fine.
Oh,
what's the point of retiring then? Like spite play now, bro. Like keep it going then. Let's just push the limit.
Yeah,
TV.
He's married to the game now.
Married to the game. Just only in Tampa. Shit.
This is the best thing. This is the best thing for Bucs fans. Are you kidding me? Yeah, There's no guilt. Fucking like, take the house. I'm just gonna keep playing. Like he doesn't have to listen to it anymore. Right? But exactly. He probably built like a beach house on the side of it or some weird shit.
They're in the middle of building a massive place right now, and it's just halted construction, like right on the water.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I totally knew that when I said it.
Figured that.
Yeah, that's just. But like from the people in actual personal, it's like this is a tough one. Like this looks like shit, and also it is in the middle of the season. Like I that's not a freeing way to play. And
No.
obviously he looked great on Sunday, and he's probably lunatic enough to be able to compartmentalize and focus when he needs to. But I don't know, man. That's a lot. That's a lot going on up top to have to deal with. But if anyone can do it, I guess it's him.
That's a good way to look at it. And on that note, I think we're pretty much out of time here this evening. So Bo and Scott, I want to thank you both as always for making sure this show runs so smoothly with the objective opinions you guys bring to the show and all the other flavor you put on it. Anyone listening, please make sure you subscribe to the Bucs Banter YouTube channel. We're slowly but surely continuing to acquire more of an audience, and would love for you to be a part of it. So we do this about once a week, and if you can't catch us live on YouTube, feel free to download or stream on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you check out bucksgameday.com, where it is the only Sports Illustrated website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On that note, we will talk at some point after the Buccaneers play the Falcons this Sunday at 1 p.m. For all of our Canadian listeners, happy Thanksgiving, and be well, everyone. We'll talk soon. Peace out.